This is quite clearly a Hyundai. It's the latest car for the Indian market and it's jumping right into the executive saloon car class. It's the Elantra. Its predecessor didn't have such a good run here in India. But more recently with the Verna, we've seen that Hyundai can give some really solid products that hit the sweet spot for the Indian market. Can the Elantra hold up to the Hyundai template now? Well, let's find out. Hyundai's new Elantra has been making waves globally, and going just by the way it looks, it is bound to be a winner in India as well. Although Hyundai's fluidic design is immediately familiar, the Elantra is distinguishable from other Hyundais. The headlamps are slimmer, they stretch further back and look sharper. The trapezoidal grille has softer edges. Two sharp lines on the side, the high waistline and tight glass area, make the Elantra look sportier still. The window line kinks aggressively too, but it looks neater than the Verna. The slim two-part tail lamps are closer in terms of design to the Sonata than the Verna. The high boot lid also has a sporty spoiler lip integrated into it. The Elantra sports smart 16-inch alloys with 205 section rubber on it. That completes a striking and attractive package. The Elantra also features fog lamps and turn indicators on the ORVMs. Now the Verna's interiors weren't quite up to the mark when it came to materials and fit and finish. But now here in the Elantra, things have gotten better several notches. The interior design of this 5th generation Elantra is a far cry from the bland interiors of the 3rd generation car that was on offer in India earlier. The multi-layered dashboard flows down towards the center console. The design will make you smile. The narrow waist, the glossy black trim and chrome lining are really nice flourishes. The instrument cluster looks cool and it's easy to read too. There are a lot of practical storage spaces around the cabin as well. So in true Hyundai tradition, when it comes to equipment, the Elantra has pretty much everything and then some more. The dashboard has a digital clock on top with the music system below. Apart from CDs, it has connectivity for Bluetooth, USB and auxiliary in as well. The climate control air conditioning is housed right at the bottom and has independent temperature controls for the driver and passenger. The Elantra sports keyless start, automatic headlights, cruise control, tilt and rake adjust for the steering wheel, a reversing camera and powered folding mirrors with heating. The top-end SX variant features 6-way power adjust for the driver's seat, while the passenger seat has to be adjusted manually. But both these seats are cooled. At the rear, passengers get an armrest, which also has controls for the music system. That's really neat. And as expected, there's air conditioning vents to keep the passengers there really cool. This is a pretty nice back seat. The seats have a nice soft cushioning, but at the same time sculpted nicely, feels supportive. There's good amount of knee room. Where it can be a bit of a pinch though is headroom can be a bit tight if you're tall, and that aside, well, it doesn't feel like that airy cabin because the window line is quite high that way and it kinks up, so it can feel a bit cooped in. And while under thigh support is good, it isn't the best in its class. However, the flat floor makes things a bit better for the middle passenger. Finally, on the safety front, the Elantra features 6 airbags and hill start assist for convenience. Now, if you choose to hit the road in the Elantra, you'll have 2 engines to choose from. The petrol motor is a new 1.8-litre motor that can change valve timing on the intake and exhaust cams. It can also change the length of the intake tract for the engine. Now, all this technology helps to improve efficiency and economy while reducing tailpipe emissions. It also helps the motor develop 146 bhp of power and 18 kilograms of torque. Depending on your taste, it can then be ordered with a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic gearbox. But the motor I was focusing on was the diesel. This 1582cc CRDI motor is shared with the Werner. So, are the power and torque figures different? No. The Elantra develops an identical 126 bhp of power and 26.5 kilograms of torque. But there's an important tweak to the variable geometry turbo, which helps peak torque develop 200 RPM earlier in the rev range. But will this slight tweak be enough? After all, the engine needs to deal with the Elantra's 1350 kilograms of curb weight, which is 160 kilos more than the Werner. With the power and torque channelized through the 6-speed manual gearbox, I found that the Elantra wasn't quite perfect.
Now, if you're driving at lower speeds in the city, you'll find that under 2000 RPM, there really isn't that much responsiveness to the motor. It's happy to amble along and just keep pace with slow-moving traffic, but if you put your foot down suddenly like that and expect it to dart ahead, it's not going to do that. It's only past 2000 RPM that the power really comes down on a song, the turbo is really on, and then you have a linear power delivery right up till about 4500 RPM. The only thing is, past 3000 RPM, closer to 3.5, you'll find that the engine becomes more audible and it feels like it's straining a bit.
On the fast, smooth highways, the 6-speed manual let the Elantra cruise effortlessly. It hits triple-digit speeds with ease and crunches kilometers without fuss. Now, when it comes to the automatic gearbox, the Elantra uses a 6-speed automatic instead of the 4-speed on the Werner. Despite having 2 additional ratios, the Elantra didn't feel at home on the highway. The torque converter feels quite one-dimensional when compared to the dual-clutch gearboxes that competitors have on offer.
I also drove the diesel automatic version. Now, this is clearly very focused towards cities and driving in stop-go conditions, but we drove it pretty much out on the highway. And out here, what I can tell you for sure is that the shifts are quick, they're smooth, and you also have the manual mode, and using that, it is quite responsive. You know, you can hold on to a gear, so it gives you better drivability, a more immediate response. Overall, seems to be a pretty nice gearbox.
Still, it isn't exciting to drive or very smooth for long highway drives. Now, how has Hyundai set up the Elantra suspension?
Now, the ride typical of Hyundais is set to the softer side, so in the city at lower speeds it will feel really quite cushy. But as the speeds rise out on the highway, you'll find that body control is not all that great. There's a fair amount of body movement, which doesn't keep the car feeling all that settled like some of its European rivals, which feel very nice and flat.
Going by Hyundai's other sedans, thrilling the driver hasn't been a Hyundai specialty, and it's no different with the Elantra.
At low speeds, the steering feels very nice and light, but at higher speeds, just the weight feels a bit inconsistent. It's not something that you really enjoy to chuck the Elantra around corners.
However, the Elantra can boast of a really long 270cm wheelbase. A couple of millimeters more would have made it the longest in its class. The meaty 205/60 R16 tires also promise to make a difference in the dynamics department.
Now, I am a little bit surprised with the Elantra on the highway. With my benchmark being the Werner, I had expected this to be quite flighty as well, but this displays more confidence, more comfort at higher speeds on the highway. But still, if you look at its competition, it's not quite as evolved or as resolved as those.
So even though it may not have the mature dynamics of its European rivals, the Elantra shows that Hyundai is improving in this area. And even though it won't be exciting, the combined electronic might of ESC, ABS and VSM are sure to make the Elantra a safe sedan. All in all, the Elantra promises everything we expect from Hyundai's new generation of cars, and in some areas, it delivers a little bit more.
Now the Elantra is everything we've come to expect from Hyundai. It's a stylish looking vehicle that really packs a long equipment list. It's got that slight city focus to it, so low speed ride is very comfortable. High speed dynamics, not the best, but it is better than what we'd expected. Another area of improvement is interior fit, finish and quality, several notches above the Verna in comparison. Overall, it's a vehicle that really will offer you a lot of value, and its engine options also gives you a lot to think about. You've got petrol, you've got diesel, you've got auto, you've got manual, and we expect the diesel also to be offered with the auto for the mid-range variant. So really a very strong package that is going to be offered from Hyundai, and of course is going to be priced very attractively. A Hyundai trump card as always.